Oh, la 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 la. Deconverted man here. Today, we are looking at Dr. Tracy E Barnes. Does God exist? 5 proofs for God existence. Are there proofs that points to God's existence? When it comes to the natural world, we validate the reality of something through our empirical senses. But how do we do that with God? We can't touch nor see God. So how do we know that God exists? Let's look at 5 proofs that point to the existence of God. Oh, good. Okay, now, I looked up his name because he says doctor. Now, I found a dentist, and so he might be that dentist. Don't know. So I don't know. Don't know what his doctor's from. Not really relevant. It's just curious. Anyways, okay. So here's this guy, and we're gonna listen to him, and I'm gonna interrupt when he's wrong. And it's only 15 minutes and 41 seconds, so we're gonna be here for 10 years to analyze this. So sit back, strap in, and check it out. Check it out. Here we go.
Here's the question. Does God exist?
No, thanks for asking. I do that every time. Okay.
Well, how do you know that God exists? When it comes to validating the material world in which we live, we use our empirical senses. We use our eyes because we can see something. We use our hands, we can touch something. Our ears, we can hear it. We can smell it. We can taste it. Our 5 senses help us validate whether or not something does exist. But when that comes to God, how do you do that? Oh, I
Okay, so there's more than 5 senses, but yeah. Broadly speaking, we tend to use those to verify the reality that is around us. But of course, we humans have developed a technique that we call the scientific method, where we observe something, we write down or record in some way our observations, and we have somebody else check that and make sure that, yeah, that's what it was. And then somebody else checks that as well, and we have as many people as possible check that out, make sure that, yeah, that thing is what how, yeah, that's right, that's what that is. So you grab a rock and you're like, okay, here's how heavy it is, and here's what it looks like, and here's a drawing of it, here's a photo of it, here's a recording of it. Maybe I don't know how to analyze it more than that, but it's something, and then somebody else can double check that work. And so the empirical methodology seems to be pretty good for doing that. And we also have repeatable testing, where we test something over and over again, hopefully in a controlled environment, and and see what's really going on, see what we can understand about it, see what we can learn from it, and apply that to reality. Now, like I said, I think this guy might be a dentist. Not sure, but dentistry has evolved throughout time. And by evolved, I mean it's changed slowly through time. People used to die from teeth not coming out. They get infected tooth and they could die from that. The wisdom teeth shouldn't be there. We don't need them anymore. We don't use them, and they just get in the way. They crowd the mouth, and they need to be removed. It's very costly, very painful procedure. And back, in the day, there was no anesthetic. And now we have ways to make the pain be virtually non-existent, or even knock out the person so they're not even aware during the procedures. And so all those things have been because of the scientific method. But we're not going to use any of that for God, are we?
know. Here it is. God's just to your right. If you will just walk over there right now, you can see him. He's right there. So just walk over if you will. And if you start a conversation with him, I'm pretty certain he'll talk with you, and you can hear him saying things to you. And In fact, if you get close enough, you might detect a certain smell. We can't do that with God. We cannot use our empirical senses because we cannot see, touch, smell, taste, or hear God in that sense. So, how then do we know that God exists?
It's actually a decent question. Um, I don't think that you would know. You could believe, and those are different things, at least in my view. Maybe you want to quibble because of natural language. Knowing something versus believing something, if you have knowledge of something, you can demonstrate that it's a thing in the first place. Believing something is something that you think it's true, but you can't necessarily demonstrate it in any way, shape, or form, or at least maybe you're ignorant of aspects of it. So there's parts of it that you kind of have to believe because you don't really know everything there is to know about it. For like quantum physics, like I don't know anything about that. It's like, do I believe it's a thing? Yeah, I suppose at some level I do believe because there appears to be evidence for it. I don't understand it. I can't explain it. And that seems to be how it is. It's very complicated. I understand some of it, but very, very little. And so that's not necessarily knowledge in that sense. I guess it's some sort of belief at some level. I don't know. Uh, do I know it's a thing? Well, I know it's a thing as much as I know that any other endeavor that humanity has done in science is a thing, and that we have repeatable tests, we have empirical evidence, and that we've combined those data sets to examine this phenomenon in various different ways. And I've listened to talks about it, and I've looked at videos on it, and I've read things about it, and it's like, yeah, it just seems to be coherent. It seems to be something that um, forwards progress. We've used it in different machinery. Computers are being developed with quantum elements to them. So, yes, it seems to be true, and I don't really have any reason to doubt that. But none of that appears to be true when it comes to God. There's no way to quantify it in that way that I am aware of.
The Bible says it is by faith that we understand the universe was created by God's word, so that what can be seen, that is the natural world, was made out of what cannot be seen.
All right. So the problem with quoting your Bible or any holy book is we then need to prove that that book is legitimate. And you're not doing that. You just say, hey, this thing says, so what? The lobster says that it's true. So that makes that true. Now, maybe you've never heard of the lobsters. That's okay. It's on my profile. There's 3 links to 3 different lobsters. You can go read them all, and they say a bunch of things. And the last one says it's absolutely true. So, well, it's got to be true because it said it's true, right? But who cares what it says? Demonstrate that it's true. I don't care what this says, demonstrate that it's true. Now, putting that to the side a moment, this particular verse is rather incoherent. You can't understand something by faith. You can only believe something by faith. And by faith, I view faith to be a belief without any demonstrable evidence to it. There's no way to show that it's true. So you can do anything by faith. You can believe in anything by faith. You could believe in pixies and leprechauns and goblins and ogres and dragons. But goblins, ogres, and dragons don't exist. Well, why do you think God exists? If there's a book written about goblin, ogres, and dragons, and I quote it and say, well, by faith, you understand that the universe was made by goblins, ogres, and dragons, so that what was seen was made out of what can't be seen. Who cares? It's not proof. It's not evidence.
The supernatural. But I come back to our question, does God exist? And how do I know that God exists? And here's the bottom line. For all of you that are viewing this video, I cannot make any of you believe that God exists.
That's true, and that's a bug in the system. If I show you something, you don't really have a choice but to believe that that's a thing that you have seen. So here's a picture of me. Let's see, going aliens. Yeah, I'm doing the meme with the aliens. Um, you have no choice but to believe that that's a picture of somebody. Maybe it's not me, but it's a picture of some human doing a thing with his hands, and the word aliens is there, and the letter D is down there, and it says deconverted man. And you have no choice but to believe that that's the case because you saw it. And you unless you want to say that you're hallucinating or something like that, which then you would need some proof of that, you don't really have a choice in the matter. You have to think that it's true. So I have to think that there is a person on screen with gray hair talking to me via this video. I have no choice in the matter. So if you present that for God, then yes, I would believe it. I'd have no choice but to believe it, unless I think that my sensory inputs are fully me, and would then want to investigate that possibility. So if God is this thing that you cannot demonstrably demonstrate like you can with yourself or whatever that object is behind you to the left, looks like a bunch of books maybe, and then on the right you've got a printer and you've got a painting behind you. All of those things are demonstrably demonstratable, but God isn't. That's a problem.
But what I can do is give you some proofs that point to the existence of God. And that's what.
And by proof, you mean bad arguments. Here we go.
We're going to do today. We're going to look at 5 basic proofs that you can use for your own understanding and help you ask or answer, if you will, that question, does God exist?
All right. Now, I can't prove to you guys, girls and robots out there, that I've not watched this video, but I haven't watched this video. I watched like the first few seconds and go, okay, this is a video I can do something with, maybe. And that's it. I didn't watch further. So I don't know what he's going to say, but I'm going to predict. He's going to go with the cosmological argument, or some version of it. Say, the universe has a beginning. The universe has a cause. Cause has to be God. It's going to go with the moral argument. Hey, moral objectiveness exists, and therefore God. Maybe he'll toss in the empty tomb argument. Oh, Jesus came back from the dead, therefore God, or something. Maybe he'll get fancy and toss in the ontological argument. Merely thinking about God proves God, or the unmoved mover. You can't have things moving without a mover. The uncaused cause. So we're going to have like a cosmological argument. We're probably going to have a moral argument. We might have an empty tomb argument, or some other appeal to the Bible. Maybe we'll have an ontological argument, and I'm not sure what the 5th one might be. I don't know. But yeah, there you go. There's my predictions of what we're going to hear. And I've done videos about pretty much all of the arguments that I bring up, that he might bring up. But I'm gonna have to like rehash some of those, I'm sure. Here we go. I bet it's gonna be the cosmological argument straight out the gate. Yeah, the universe has a beginning. All scientists agree with this. Yada yada yada. Let's check it out. See if I'm right.
So let's begin. Here's proof number 1. The universe must have a cause.
Thank you for being so predictable, apologists. Uh, we don't know this. We don't know that that's the case. Okay, I know that you guys think that that's the case, but we, humanity, does not know that. And okay, so here's the, the multifaceted problem with this statement. What we can observe regarding the universe is redshift. And because we've observed that, we made this extrapolation that uh, the universe was smaller in the past than it is today, and and that it's been drifting apart ever since, and it's accelerating its drifting. And so maybe one in the distant past it was very close together, so close together that it would have been a singularity, very small speck, uh, perhaps the length of a Planck, what they call the Planck length, maybe smaller if that's possible. Who knows? That starts to go into speculation already. I think that they've gotten to T moment, I don't know, five, maybe a little bit earlier than that. Maybe not. I'm not sure exactly, but that means the time index. And what I mean by that is that physicists have looked at the mathematics of a small universe, a crunched up, balled together universe, the extraordinary heat that would be present, and did some very complicated math and said, okay, we can tell you about it up until this point, and then before that point, we can't really tell you what's going on because the math just breaks down. The universe just gets too hot. We don't have any idea, or we have very little idea about what the universe would be like when it's so freaking hot, because it's cajillions of degrees, ridiculous numbers hot. It's just beyond understanding of hot, and also very compact, very small. And so we don't really know what that would be like either. And time space, because they're conjoined, might be different than what it is now. How we experience time space now, if we were to go into that distant past and somehow survive the cajillion degrees, maybe we wouldn't survive, because you couldn't survive in that sort of universe no matter what protection you have, because the density of the universe is too great and you would just get smushed into nothingness. But let's pretend that we overcame that somehow so we could observe what was going on. Maybe we couldn't even observe it because it's too small for us to observe. Who knows? So it's speculation. Okay, the Big Bang theory, as it's been labeled the Big Bang, I wish they had labeled it something else, but whatever. The expanding universe in cosmology is widely accepted, but it's not absolute uh, agreement. It's not a full consensus in science just yet. Maybe it will be one day. There's other ideas out there, and some are seem more crazy than others, and I don't know which one it is, and we could potentially be wrong about our observations to some degree. Who knows? We don't know. It's an ongoing endeavor of exploration, of observing what we can observe, and extrapolating from that what might be. And some of that is theory, some of that's hypothesis, some of that might be speculation. But if it's testable and you can make a prediction out of it, then it becomes good science. So some of the stuff they've been able to make predictions about, others not so much. And the problem when you assert that it has a cause is you're saying something that science has not yet agreed upon. We don't know, because that singularity, that might have always been, and some will talk about this in a speculative way. Scientists will talk about the origin of the universe, the very moment of when it was. And the word beginning almost doesn't mean anything in a way, because time space might not have even existed. And so there's no before moment, there's just moment. That's it. And there is no anything before. So beginning, like, is that it's like it's a beginning, may kind of, I guess, but it's a different sort of beginning than anything we're familiar with, because one moment there was no moment, and then suddenly there was a moment and a thing, and there wasn't anything before that, and not even that there wasn't anything, that there couldn't be anything. And no, it's not nothing, it just isn't. And that's not nothing either. And it's just really bizarre and confusing and strange. And goodness knows if that has or hasn't a cause. Now, in quantum physics, there's this thing where they put metal near each other, and you get these effects of particles that seem to be coming into existence uh, just because they do. And, well, maybe the cause is the metal being close together. Well, maybe, but maybe it's something else. But that's how they find these things. But apparently they're doing that even without metal being close together. It's just a way to make sure that they do it in a way that we can see the dang things doing it. But maybe they do it all the time, or at least a lot of the time, without metal. And just because there's no cause, they just come into existence and then pop out of existence, and that's it. There's no underlying rhyme or reason to it. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. You don't know. And what this does, what this cosmological argument and all cosmological arguments do, is the fallacy of composition. Compositional fallacy is when you take the parts and confuse them for the whole. So you say, of the known universe, we observe cause and effect. And for the most part, except for maybe quantum physics, that seems to be the case. We're going to leave quantum physics to the side because that really ruins our day here with cause and effect. So we're just going to ignore that, right? But anyways, it seems like everything has a cause and effect for what we have observed. Okay, and then you extrapolate and say, well, therefore, the universe itself, which you're now classifying as a thing, has to behave like its component parts. But no, that doesn't follow, because it is the fallacy of composition. It's the parts and the whole. The cells of my body work in a certain way that the full body does not work in. The whole is different from the sum of the parts. So it's true that cells work in X, Y, and Z ways, and yet that doesn't apply to the entire body in full. My entire physical body does not behave in an identical way that a cell behaves. Certainly, I can't duplicate myself like some cells can. So certainly, I'm nothing like the egg that was first fertilized, that starts the process of a human coming into being. You know, so I'm very different than the cells, because the whole is different than the sum of the parts. So the compositional fallacy is where this and pretty much every cosmological argument ultimately falls apart.
Within the world, the natural world in which we live, a fundamental law of science is the law of cause and effect, simply stating that when you see an effect, you know there must be a cause.
Okay, so he said something there. He said that there's a law of cause and effect in science. Is that actually a law in science? If so, please provide citations for it. If not, then admit that you're just asserting that it's a law in science. So I would like to see the peer-reviewed published paper that is scientific, that says that the cause and effect is a law of science. Surely there's at least one that says that. Please provide that paper without a firewall or paywall or whatever. Give it to all of us to see and read. Surely you can do that, right?
For every material effect that we see, there was a cause that came before it. Well, when you look at the material world in which we live, and it's obvious because it's all around you and you can see it, you can experience it, you know that it exists, there's an effect. But what caused the universe?
That's a loaded question. It assumes that there is a cause to the universe. So I cannot answer that question honestly, nor can anyone else. But what people do is they assert an answer because they want an answer. There isn't a actual answer to this yet. Maybe one day we'll figure it out. Maybe not. Maybe it's going to be a mystery. But this is typical of apologetics where you assert things as being true without demonstrating that they are true.
How did this universe come into being? If you do not believe in a creator, then you must believe that something came into existence from nothing.
No, you don't have to believe that. It's a false dichotomy. As I was ranting on about there not being even a nothing, is there's this philosophical concept of nothing. And that's all it is a philosophical concept. So what is nothing, quote unquote? The word nothing, what does that mean? Well, there's multiple meanings, but one idea of it is there isn't anything at all. Okay, there's no gravity, there's no time, there's no space, there's no where, there's no when, there isn't any particles, there isn't energy, there isn't. Now, the question is, are there laws of logic? Now, laws of logic are a concept that we humans have come up with. And those concepts are based upon observations of reality as we've come to understand it. And one of those concepts is that paradox is impossible. That appears to be true in reality. A true paradox would be truly impossible. That, the classic, can God make a rock so heavy that it can't lift, is a paradox. Well, if God can do anything, then it can make a rock that's really heavy that it can't lift. But if it can't lift it, then it can't really do anything. So it's a true paradox. That can't actually be a thing. And so something has to be wrong with the statement that God can do anything, because there is a thing that God cannot do. So God cannot perform paradoxes. So God is not omnipotent, God is logically potent. God is able to create a very heavy rock, but it will always be able to lift that rock. It cannot do something that it cannot not do. And so the law of no paradox exists in that sense, whether there's a God or not, whether there's humans or not, whether there's a universe or not. And it has to. And you go, well, why? Well, because it's describing reality. It's just saying this is how things are. And you go, but wait a minute, you're talking about nothing. That means no laws. No laws of logic allowed, because that would be something. Okay, so then paradox is possible. Okay, great. Everything is possible. Everything is possible, and everything is impossible simultaneously. And there's absolutely nothing to prevent something coming from nothing. But once you have the something, then you have it. Then whatever that something is has some sort of rules that govern it, some sort of laws that govern it. So, although it's conceivable that such a nothing was a thing, think it I don't think so, but whatever. If that isn't the case, then yes, anything could be, because you'd have no logic there. There's nothing to stop everything from occurring simultaneously all at once and then also not occurring. But the moment something occurs, then you have some law that governs that something at least. But what about the rest of the nothing? Does it continue to not have rules and not have laws that govern it? Goodness only knows. I don't believe that there was a nothing in that philosophical sense, because I view nothing as impossible. The version of no thing that might be possible would be that it isn't no thing. There isn't a nothing. There is an absence of perhaps material substrate, but you always have to have at least one rule, one law. At the very least, you have to have no paradoxes allowed. A big old pretend sign that says no paradoxes allowed. Of course, there's not really a sign there. Okay, so then what? Well, from there, what do you get? Okay, well, can you say 0 plus 0 equals 1? Sure, why not? If you say no, that's impossible. Why? Oh, because it doesn't. Well, what makes that so? Because that's not how 1 plus 1 works. Okay, that's another law. And so then you have all these laws of how that reality works because of the nature of reality itself, which is something that we don't really know the true nature of reality. Maybe we know some aspects of it, but certainly I'm not going to sit here and say that I understand the true nature of reality. But that's what apologetics attempts to do by reducing it down to the very simple construct of God. Apologetics seeks to explain all of reality by saying God did it, which is no better than saying a wizard did it. But no, you don't have to believe in nothing, because you can not have a belief. You can have a non-belief. Okay? I know I said it weird. You can have a non-belief as well. So regarding the origin of the universe, I have no idea. Don't know. I don't believe that nothing did it. I don't believe God did it. I don't believe any of that. I don't have any belief regarding that at all. So that is a third category. I do not have a belief regarding the origin of the universe. I don't have that because I do not know. Maybe some scientist out there knows or thinks they know. I don't, that's possible, I suppose. But until I get that information, that data that I can look at and observe, I'm ignorant of it. And instead of filling my ignorance with some explanation like nothing or God, I say, I am going to admit that I'm ignorant in regards to the origin of the universe and say, I do not know. And that is not a belief whatsoever. So he is absolutely 100% wrong about the idea that if you don't believe in a God, that you have to believe in X. No, you don't. You don't have to believe in anything. And I'll also add this. I don't have to know what the answer is to know what the answer is not. So I throw out, whenever I say this phrase, I throw out the example and I change the numbers by saying, I don't know what a billion to the power of 75.7 is. I have no idea. No idea at all. Somebody can do that math and let me know. I know it's not a negative number. I know it's going to be bigger. It's going to be some big number. I know it's going to have a decimal point in there somewhere. I don't know what the belief that means or how. I have no idea what even the number would be, but I don't know if it's odd or even, but I do know that it's not 0. I know that it's not 1 through 10. I know that it's going to be a fraction. I know a lot about what it won't be without knowing what it is. And in the same way, I know that when it comes to the answer, quote unquote, for the universe, that whatever that is going to be something that is rational and logical to some degree. It's going to be it's going to fit within how reality functions. And the reason I know that is, well, maybe you could say I believe that, fair enough, is every single time that we humans have said it's God or something like that, we have been wrong. Now, you could say, well, that doesn't mean we'll be wrong this time, but every time we've been wrong. Oh, lightning, God. Nope, it's not. Lightning, say Elmo's fire, which is lightning ball lightning. God, nope, wrong. Aurora borealis, God, nope. Sickness, God, no. Or devils or demons or spirits, no. None of that. We were wrong. We've been wrong every time that we thought something was supernatural. We thought something was God or spirits or whatever. We have been wrong about that consistently because we have found a naturalistic explanation. And whatever the explanation is, it's going to be something that can be discovered. If you want to say no, that assumes naturalism or something like that. No, I'm not assuming naturalism or materialism. I'm saying that whatever we find to be the explanation must be something that we can explore within the aspect of our ability to do so, because we would not ever be able to say anything about it unless we can demonstrably demonstrate that it's a thing at all. So we could never say that it's a goblin or ogre or dragon because we have no evidence of goblin, ogres, or dragons. So we would never be able to say that that's what it was, unless that's really what it was. And then we would have the evidence of the goblin, of the ogre, of the dragon. If we figure out how the universe came to be, would that negate God, or would he and other apologists simply move the goalpost back and say, well, that thing is also caused by God? If we knew the answer, we said, the answer is 42. That's what the answer is. We figured it out. Here's the math, blah, blah, blah. And it actually does turn out to be 42. Go figure. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was right. Douglas Adams was right. He was joking, but it turns out he was right. It's 42. Well, you can't have 42 without a 42er. They'll always move the goalpost back. They will. They absolutely will. How do I know that? Because they've done it in the past. Theists asserted in the past that lightning was from God, and we understood lightning. We were able to explain lightning, and now very, very few theists assert that lightning is because of God. Some kind of do. I mean, ultimately, everything would be from God, wouldn't it? But most theists wouldn't assert that, well, the lightning is caused by God. Maybe they would assert something, that ultimately all reality is caused by God, but the lightning is just a byproduct of how the world works, unless God is controlling all lightning strikes. Which I gotta say, then that's really annoying to me, because I was gonna do a video last night, and the power was flickering and stuff was crazy because of electrical storms, and we had a transformer across the way explode. He didn't transform into Optimus Prime. He was on the telephone pole, and he exploded twice, and so we lost power. So why did God do that? I don't know. Anyways, back to the video.
Let me say that again. You've got to believe that something came into existence from nothing if there is no God. If you believe that nothing produced something, then you must believe that the natural world came from a supernatural nothing.
I don't even know. I don't know what the belief of supernatural even is. And no, I don't believe in a supernatural, nor do I believe in a nothing. So stop asserting what I must believe and demonstrate your argument to be true. Because I could assert what you believe. And so you believe that there's an entity that has no brain but has a mind. And that this entity has power, but this power is not constrained by any laws of physics because it's infinite power, which breaks all sorts of laws of physics as we know them. And and this entity thinks and feels, and it has all this power, and it does so without a brain or a body, and it does so without any space or time to do it somehow. That sounds a lot like magic to me. That's what you believe in. Ultimately, you believe in magic. Now, is that a fair assessment of what you believe, Doctor? No, probably not. You don't actually believe in magic. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. Do you? But I could assert you have to believe in magic. Hey, Doctor, you believe in God? That means you have to believe in magic. You go, no, I don't believe in magic. No. You have to believe in magic. Is that going to get us anywhere? No. Asserting what your opposition believes is not a coherent argument. It's not even an argument. It's mere bald assertion. It's a poisoning of the well, and it is a dishonest tactic that does not get us to the truth.
And that, my friend, makes no sense whatsoever. Because we know that this natural world does indeed exist. We can see it, we can touch it, we can smell it, we can hear it, we can use our empirical senses and know that it's there. And the only answer to its existence is a God who brought it into existence.
Well, now you're just asserting something without any proof whatsoever. And okay, magic. We know that it has to be because magic. That's it. That's all you've done. That's not an argument. That's not logical. Just saying it has to be X without demonstrating that X is even a thing is a non-argument. It's also not a proof in any way, shape, or form. It's not even it's not a syllogism. So there's I would break down this from, well, you've presented many logical fallacies, appeals to just bald assertions would be one, but also of course compositional fallacy, appeals to ignorance and personal incredulity. You mentioned that it doesn't make sense if something came from the supernatural nothing, whatever the hell that means. Well, it not making sense doesn't mean it's not true. I'm not saying that it is true. I'm just correcting your bad logic and reasoning. Just because something doesn't make sense doesn't mean that it's not true. Something might be very nonsensical to you and still be true. So we've got to do proper logic. Well, I have to do proper logic. I guess you don't have to do it if you don't want to. I do because I care about logic and reason.
A supernatural being that brought into existence the natural world in which we find ourselves. Proof one, the universe must have a cause, and we know that that cause is God.
That's not proof. We not only do we not know that the universe has to have a cause, we also have no conjoining connection between that idea of it having to have a cause with the idea of God, which you haven't defined, you haven't explained, you haven't demonstrated, you've simply asserted it. So your conclusion does not follow from your premise. You only have a single premise here. Your premise is the universe has a cause, therefore, and then your conclusion is therefore God. Does not follow, non sequitur. Your fallacies are insane. Oh my word, stop with the broken argument. You need to demonstrate that in some way, shape, or form. Had you used a cosmological syllogism, I could point out the multiple fallacies. I mean, I've been pointing out the fallacies you're doing as you go, but there I could at least do it properly. So you haven't even given us a proper syllogism, which would be required for proof, at least within logic. So you're not even giving us logical arguments. You're just saying stuff. That's not good. Stop it. Please give me something. All right, we did the universe has a beginning, therefore God. He's gonna do the moral argument next. That's my prediction. See if I'm right.
Here's proof two. Proof number two. Design reveals a designer.
Okay, well, I was wrong about my prediction, but now we've just gone into stupid territory. Well, welcome to stupid territory, my friends and enemies and neutral peoples and robots out there. Uh, design I hate this sort of simplistic thinking that goes on. Design requires a designer, or reality requires a realtor. I, Apologists, listen to me if you are. Stop saying this. It sounds stupid. Okay, it really does. Okay, um, what do you mean by design? That's a problem. Um, there are things that appear designed but aren't. You would need a separate category to say X is designed but Z is not designed. Otherwise, if everything is designed, well, you know, how would you show that? I mean, there what every single bump of every single rock has been made that way. Well, no. Here, we can take a rock tumbler, right? You can get a rock, you get a rock tumbler, you put sand in the tumbler with the rock, and then you get a smoother rock after a while of it tumbling around. It's pretty dang noisy. You have to keep it somewhere like in the basement or something, away from people, somewhere soundproof or whatever, right? And you put in different sands or different materials to make it smooth and whatever. So you started out with a really rough rock, and then you did this thing that then produced this smooth rock. Well, did you design that rock to be smooth? You personally did not do that. You only created the environment to actualize the result that you desired. There is a difference there. Now, time and weather can produce very smooth rocks. You can find them sometimes on the beach or other places and go, oh, here's a rock. It's really, really smooth. Does that mean it was designed to be smooth by a human? Or could it be that it became that way due to ocean and water, sand, etc.? Well, there might be a way to test for that. There might be a way to figure that out. But to simply assert that it must be designed would be disingenuous. It's not. Are you really, unless you are willing to suggest that the ocean and sand is designing smooth rocks, then this idea that design, because it looks designed, requires a designer has to be false. Because it's natural. The waters and the sand and all that, well, maybe you believe that's ultimately done by God, but is God making the rock smooth using sand and water in a way that is no different than what we would expect without God? When I put a rock in a rock tumbler with sand in it, does God know about that and go, okay, well, I guess I got to make this rock smooth? Or is it just that that's a thing that develops because of the things that make it so? Not everything that appears to be designed has a designer. There are rocks with faces on them that appear to have faces on them that no one made that way. They look that way, but they are not actually that way. So here's one example. Let's see. All right, let me get it here. Okay. All right. So this particular rock here looks like it has a face there on the left. Look, there's an eyeball, there's the nose, there's the mouth. Looks like a face, but nobody carved that. No human carved that. The weather and elements carved that. And if you went around it, it probably wouldn't look very much like a face anymore. That appears to be designed, but is not designed. So it did not need a designer. So this non-proof is just wrong.
It is an understood truism that the universe looks designed.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. Not even a little bit. What part of the universe are you talking about looks designed? In what way? Black holes appear to be designed? What? For what? Eating everything? Like, why? Why would you design a thing like that? It doesn't. What? What does that mean? Huh? Supernovas are designed? Really? What? What do you mean it appears to you it looks that way, but don't tell me what I think about it, because I look at the universe, or what we know about the universe. I look at, stuff and, look at pictures and whatever, and yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's lots of stars and lots of galaxies, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's great. It's cool, but it doesn't appear designed to me. So how do you explain that? You can't just assert that it appears designed to everybody, because it doesn't. But this seems like an appeal to your own personal incredulity. You can't understand, you can't believe that it's not designed, so it must be. Or maybe it's an appeal to ignorance. It's like, how else could it look so well designed? Maybe it takes on the appearance of design, or maybe you're just a pattern-seeking creature that sees design when there isn't. What design would put wisdom teeth in our mouths? Is that there just so that you could have a job to pull them? Wouldn't your job be a little bit easier without the wisdom teeth? Probably. Maybe you wouldn't make as much money, but, it'd certainly be easier, and certainly be easier on humans to not have wisdom teeth. So that's a bad design. So do we have a bad designer? I think black holes are a real big problem. So is that a bad design? Or supernova? That's kind of a problem too. Well, I mean, if they're not near me, I guess they're not that much of a problem, but still, that's kind of a bad design. The universe is running out of energy. That's a bad design. So if you want me to agree with you, then I'd have to conclude it's a bad designer, which isn't what you want me to do. So how about this? I'm not going to assume that it's designed or infer that it's designed at all. You can do that all you want, but I won't, because you haven't demonstrated that it appears designed, nor that it is designed. You're simply asserting these things as if they are true.
I mean, if you look at the screen you're viewing right now, whether it's a smartphone that you're holding in your hand or a monitor that's in front of you, you know intuitively that smartphone or that screen is designed.
No, you don't know that intuitively. You know that because you have information about those devices. This is the classical watchmaker argument, that you have something that you absolutely know that is put together by people versus something that you don't know. So you have the watch that you find on the beach and you go, oh, look, this has got to be designed because it's so complicated. And you go, look at the trees. They're really complicated. It must be designed too. But, show the screen, show the tablet to a tribes person that's never before seen technology and ask them what it is. Say, here, check this out. You show them, you go, well, assuming you know their language, you have to know their language, and you would have had to introduce yourself because, they've never encountered a person like you before. And you do that and you say, hey, how's it going? Okay, look, I'm going to show you something. I want you to tell me what it is. You pull out your phone, you show them that it has a screen, and you go, look, it's got all this stuff on the screen. They go, wow, this is interesting. You move it, manipulate it. They go, wow, that's freaking magic. You go, you must be God. You have magical powers. They're not going to think it's designed. They're going to think it's magic. So you're wrong about what you asserted. Again, you're just wrong.
You know that it did not come into existence on its own. It bears all the marks of design because it's complex and it functions.
Complexity is a flaw, not a feature. Actually, we try to simplify technology. And we know that because, well, phones have evolved. You started with the landline. You'd call people and they'd either be home or not. And then technology developed, and we figured out a way to transmit the signals wirelessly. And so then you had wireless phones. And so you could carry your phone with you. It was pretty big at first. And, well, over time, we made that technology smaller and more compact. And as computer technology developed, we were like, hey, we could put stuff in the phone that's not just for a phone and make it do other stuff too. We'll call it a smartphone. And then they kept doing that until we have the modern day phone where you can play a game on, watch YouTube on it, make a video with it, do all sorts of crazy stuff with it that we never would have thought possible back when the rotary phone was a thing. Or maybe we would have thought maybe it's possible, but it would have sounded rather sci-fi. So, yeah. So the thing is, we want it to be as least complex as possible, because the more complex your thing is, the more likely it is to not function. So simplicity is what is a hallmark of design, not complexity. The phone is actually, yes, it's complicated, but it is as simple as we can make it. We try to make things as simple as we can make them. We don't make things overly complicated, and we certainly don't put in things that we don't need. So your phone doesn't have, well, maybe it has functions that you don't use or you don't need, quote unquote, but we don't add things to it that are completely, utterly pointless, like the hole in the side of the phone that does absolutely nothing. You can plug stuff in it, but the hole is just a hole. It's not, that's it. Why is it there? And it just is just a hole. No reason. Well, it could get stuff in that hole. Yeah, but we put it in there. Why? I don't know. Seemed like, we just wanted to have a hole in the phone. But if you get sand in there, the phone stops working. Oh, maybe we put it in there so that the phone would fail. Then you have to bring it back to us and pay us to fix it, because we don't want people to fix it on their own, and whatever. I don't know. But it's bad design. Well, then you got a bad designer. So, back to square one with that. But yeah, complexity is actually not a feature of human design. Tends to try to make things simple, not complicated. But design of nature, which isn't designed, but the DNA and such that we have, is overly complex, which actually is a bug, not a feature. It does indicate that it wasn't designed, because you would want it to be as simple as possible, and it's overly complicated. So, you're wrong again. I noticed that you've been wrong about like everything so far. Keep going though.
Well, when you look at our natural world, you can see the same thing. Whether you're looking at the macro world and looking at the universe at large, or whether you're peering down into the micro world of cells and so forth, you see design everywhere. You see complexity. When you look at the macro world, just the solar system in which our Earth is found, there are so many anthropic constants. That is, those factors that have to be or life simply would not exist.
Okay, so going towards the fine tuning argument, I guess that could have been a separate argument that you might have made for God. That's also a bad argument. But yeah, the constants that we observe in the universe, if they were different, then things would be different. And life as we know it might not be, but there might be other types of life. Who knows? Don't know. Haven't run that universe simulation. Have you run a universe simulation to find out what that would be like? Let me know when you do. Until then, just baseless, bald assertion, which is what you've been doing this whole time. But okay, keep going.
On this planet we call Earth, everything is exactly as it should be. That might.
Really? Everything is exactly as it should be? There's volcanoes that erupt and kill lots of people, and that's just how it should be. Tsunamis that wipe out people, that's exactly how it should be. Tornadoes and hurricanes, just how it should be. I don't know, getting skin, uh, sunburn from the sun. That's exactly as it should be. Possibly getting skin cancer. Yeah, that's as it should be. Yeah, sure. Yeah, everything is just as it should be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, there's not a lot of land. The world is mostly water, as it should be, because clearly God cares about sea creatures. I mean, there's more sea creatures than there are mammals, right? So, well, there's more space for them at any rate. Oh, that's exactly how it should be. Really? Wow. Just amazing. I love that assertion. I don't know what you could do to prove that that's the case, but sure seems like if you had a God and it made it just as it should be, that that all the bad things are just as they should be as well. Which means that if you are a dentist, which I don't know, maybe you're not, then you shouldn't mess with my teeth. You should leave them be. They're just as they should be. Those wisdom teeth, those are just as they should be. You don't need braces. The way that your teeth are coming in, that's just how they should be. Oh, bacteria that gathers on your teeth? Yeah, that's as it should be. You don't need to brush your teeth because that would be changing what is, and it's just how it should be. The teeth are fine. They're just as we should be. You don't need a dentist at all. Because it's just as it should be. Oh, you get sick? Oh, well, just die. Because that's just how it should be. Don't go to the doctor. I mean, you're going to mess with God's perfect little plan because it's just as it should be. I'm going to keep going with this. Oh, no. All right. Back to the video. Oh, my God. It's already been an hour.
My friend, cannot happen by chance. That is pointing to a designer.
It does happen, but not just by chance. There's a filtering mechanism called death, and other filtering mechanisms that you're apparently not aware of. But yeah, there's a filtering mechanism. But I love this little classical apologetic. It can't just be by chance. Actually, well, why not? It actually could be. I'm not saying it is because there's a filtering mechanism that I won't ignore. I don't know why you guys ignore it, but you seem to a lot. So, anyways, keep going, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to keep going until I'm done with this insanity.
But even if I look into the micro world, take the cell, for instance. When you look at any cell, whether it be a cell in your body, an animal, or any living organism, you see something that is utterly complex, that is more involved, more going on than even the greatest of the industrial factories that we know today.
I mean, not really. There's a lot going on, but not more than what's going on in an industrial factory. It's kind of an exaggeration. But yeah, it does appear that way, but that's today's cell. It came from a simpler cell and a simpler cell and a simpler all the way back. So yeah, just because it appears to be, and again, that it's complicated is not a feature of design. It'd be a feature of bad design, not good design. So if you want me to conclude that your God is a bad designer because it designed this, and it designed it using evolution, then okay, God is a bad designer, I guess. But I don't infer design when I see cells because they don't appear designed to me. But then again, I know about the science that underlines that and how we know about what cells are and how they came to be that way. I don't know if you know that or not. I would think as a dentist, you might know something about cells, but maybe your focus is on teeth. So maybe you just can't handle the tooth. I've been waiting to use that joke. All right. Oh, aliens. Okay, back to the thing. Oh.
It is amazing when you look at that cell. And even as I speak, millions of your cells in your body have already been replaced.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know that it's millions, but cells, they're doing their thing, and and they're doing. Wait, hold on. I think I found something. Hold on. I did find something relevant, and I got to share it with you real quick because it is relevant to how cells function. So let's check it out real quick.
Inside every human body, there are roughly 37.2 trillion cells, each and every one working hard to maintain a healthy, effective system 24/7. And they all take their jobs very seriously.
Here you go! Fresh delivery of oxygen ready to use.
Wait. Cells are people? Wait, then the cells also have cells if they're people. Oh man. Does that mean that the cells in the cells of the people that are cells also have people? Well, this is kind of like that Inside Out movie where she's thinking about stuff, and then the person, the thing that's thinking about, like joy, like that thing in her brain, like there's another joy in their brain. So does that keep going indefinite? Wait a minute. Oh, that's just an anime. Never mind. But it was relevant because he mentioned cells, and I wanted to make sure this video got copyright striked, so I put that on, and it's a good anime. Go check it out. Anyways,
does that happen by chance?
Yeah, kind of.
Or is it revealing a designer?
Neither.
But if there is no designer, if there is no God, then we are supposed to believe that a supernatural nothing designed the highly complex macro world and micro world that exist in the world in which we find ourselves.
No, you're not supposed to believe that, because I don't, again, no idea what the bleep supernatural even means to you. So, and nothing, no, I don't know that either. You don't have to believe in any of that. You don't have to know how things work. And apparently you don't know how things work, because I guess my guess is that you either deny biological evolution or are ignoring biological evolution in order to say what you're saying in regards to cells, because we understand that pretty darn well. Science understands that pretty darn well. So you observe X and you say, well, that looks designed, and then you jump from that to that there's a designer, and then you jump from that to it being a supernatural designer that you have not yet demonstrated as supernatural, nor have you demonstrated the designer itself. And you say that you have to believe X, and X is a ridiculous idea that you're not going to agree with if you don't believe in Z, which is a false dichotomy and a false demand. No, I don't believe in a supernatural anything, nor do I believe in a supernatural nothing. I don't believe anything regarding the supernatural whatsoever. I don't know how the universe. I know some stuff about cosmology after the universe got going, and science knows a lot of stuff about that. And then you get to how the earth formed, and we know some stuff about that. And then you get to life and abiogenesis, and we know some stuff about that. And then you get to evolution, where things really got rolling, and we know more about that. So there's gaps in our knowledge, sure. But we cannot, must not fill in those gaps with appeals to ignorance or appeals to a god or any other thing that we're going to put in its place and say, well, all came about by nothing. That would also be an empty assertion that we would need to demonstrate. Maybe it did come from nothing. I don't know. Maybe it did come from God. I don't know. But I'm not going to assert these things unless I can demonstrate those things. You have not demonstrated these things, nor have you even really argued for these things. All you've done is assert these things. But I'm waiting for the next non-proof that you're going to present. I was really surprised that you went with the designer. So just look at the trees. It's a look at the trees argument. Yay, look at the flipping freaking trees. Oh my goodness. Anyways, next point, I hope.
The design of the universe, whether you're talking macro or micro, it reveals a supernatural, intelligent designer.
No, it, even if I was to agree that the universe appears to be designed, that wouldn't reveal anything at all. Even if you would say, well, it has to be a designer, okay, fine. It's a designer. But then that would, why can't it be a natural designer? I don't know what the belief supernatural is. So it'd have to be a natural designer in my mind. All right. It's an alien. An alien did it. A time traveling wizard did it. I don't know. Why not? I did it. Yeah, in the future, I'm going to build a time machine, go back in time, and make the universe because I'm bored. Because why not? All right. Now I'm the designer. You know, whatever. Sure, why not? Because I can assert things.
Because design reveals a designer. Let's look at proof number 3. Living organisms require life givers.
Wow. Okay, so man, I thought we were gonna have like the moral argument, the ontological. I thought we were gonna have actual like classical arguments that I could examine and tell you the fallacies of. But these are just completely watered down, absolutely nothing burgers of look at the fucking trees. That's all this is. Living organisms require a life giver. Not necessarily. And I don't really know what you mean by that. What do we mean by living? What does that mean? Define life. Uh, but yeah, I guess where you're gonna go with this is like, well, you know, you can't cut life from non-life, which is just, you know, yourself. Is DNA alive? Is DNA alive? Yes or no? If no, then okay, then you've got a non-life giver that's making life. There you go. If DNA is not alive, then your whole idea here is false. If DNA is alive, well then I don't know. Then everything, you know, well, what isn't alive at that point? Viruses are not alive according to the definition of life, but they act in a way that's rather odd. They're not they do stuff without a life giver, right? Um, and of course, chemicals and amino acids are not alive, but yet they form the elements that make up the cell that is alive. So the transition from the matter itself to the living matter is a gradient. And where you can make that cutoff to say, this is not alive, but this is, might not be possible to draw a line there in the sand, so to speak, and say, okay, the cell, it's not yet a cell, it's not yet a cell, it's a cell. Okay, so it wasn't alive, now it's alive. Right? You might not be able to do that. You get a bunch of complicated, a bunch of amino acids, get them mixed together, you get them to do some stuff, you get them to combine, and at some point you go, okay, well, there you go, there's the building blocks of life. You take those things and you put them together and go, okay, well, then at some point you get a cell from that, right? But goodness knows how long that will take or what you have to do to get it. I don't know. But you won't really be able to draw the line between non-living and living because it's a slow gradient, you know. And the thing is, the chemicals that make up us, I don't think we would call those alive, but yet they are required for us to live. So absolutely, non-living things make living things all the time. So you're just wrong about this. I don't really feel like playing it, but I said I was going to do this whole damn thing, even if it took 20 days. So here we go.
Living organisms require a life giver.
Nope.
In our natural world, we understand something called the law of biogenesis, which simply states that the material natural world of
All right. Need a citation for the law of biogenesis, please.
life, that those things that are living, they come from previously existing life of its own kind.
What do you mean by kind? What do you mean by kind? What does that mean?
So life begets life. But I ask the question again, how did life even come to be in the first place?
Evolution. I mean, selective, slow changes through time. But okay, so let's say my answer is I don't know. There you go. I don't know. I don't know how life came to be. That's my answer. Now what? That's it. That's my answer. I don't know. What are you going to do with that answer? That is to say, let us assert that the answer is we don't know. That's it. That's where we should stop. We should not then say, well, it's got to be that. No, we don't know. If we don't know, we don't know. That's it. We do know that it's evolution. So whatever you're going to say is going to be completely wrong and non-scientific.
Well, it wasn't that long ago where people actually believed that life could arise spontaneously from non-living chemicals.
Are you gonna talk about the wait? What? What? What?
But this obviously has been proven false today.
Really? Where? Where was it proven false? Show me where that was done. When? When was that done? Show me. Give me a citation for that.
But if you believe that natural life can arise from a non-living chemical, you are once again having to believe that life arises from a supernatural nothing.
No. Not at all. It comes from the chemical. That's not supernatural, nor is it nothing. The chemical is there. It combined with other chemicals that are also there, and they form more complicated things and chains of things that are molecules that then come together to form more complicated stuff. None of that is supernatural and none of that is nothing. Stop asserting this nonsense, false dichotomy. Oh my word. These are not arguments. These are nothing. This is a guy that doesn't know science. If he is a dentist, don't go see him. Oh, he's going to pray for your tooth to come out, not extract it. You don't need Novocaine. I'll just pray for it. In fact, why even bother? Because God made it that way. Okay, anyways.
And when you're looking at life at large, even if you don't believe that life could arise from non-living chemicals, you're still having to explain, where does this life come from?
No, you don't have to explain that. You don't have to explain anything. You can say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an explanation. You do not have to explain anything at all to anyone, even yourself. You could just be like, I don't know. That is a thing that you can do. Stop telling people that they have to do a thing when they don't have to do the thing. Ah!
Where does it come from? And even the non-living chemicals, if you're holding on to that, where did they come from?
Supernova. The supernova. Just there you go. That's where. You know what? I got a video that you should watch there, guy, because you really you need something, to help you. And so let's just go to this, and I'll play a little bit, and it's not mine, and you can go check it out. It's just called The History of the Entire World, I guess. And you can just check out that video because it pretty much explains all this pretty well.
It's sad. I'm sad. I miss you. How did this happen? A long time ago, actually never, and also now, nothing is nowhere. When? Never. Makes sense, right? Like I said, it didn't happen. Nothing was never anywhere. That's why it's been everywhere. It's been so everywhere, you don't need a where. You don't even need a when. That's how every it gets.
I love that. So cool. Yeah.
Forget this. I want to be something. Go somewhere. Do something. I want things to change. I want to invent time and space. And I know it's possible because everything is here and it probably already happened. I just don't know when to start. And that's exactly where it started. Oh, I paused it. I think there's a universe now. What's it made of? Quarks and stuff. Ah, that's a thing. In a place. Don't like it? Try a new place. At a different time. Try to stick together because the world is going to get bigger and emptier. But it's not empty yet. It's still very full and about 1 jillion degrees. Great news, the Quarks are now happily married in groups of 3 called a...
All right, that's enough of that video for now. But yeah, there you go. There you go. There's some explanation of the universe, okay? I know, that's what you wanted, right? You wanted that, right? You just didn't understand it. Now you do. Now you got it, right? Ah, that's how it works. Okay? Where did it come from? It just did. There wasn't a where. It's just, we don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Either there wasn't a where or a when, and it just like happened. Why not? Doesn't seem impossible to me. I don't understand that, but that doesn't matter. It's not about whether or not we can comprehend it or whether we accept it or not. If that's the way it turns out to be, then fine. But I don't say that that is the way it happened because I don't know. That video, as good as it is, and it's a pretty good video, all things considered, has this idea of trying to explain everything. That it just was. Everything was already there, and that's when it happened. Was immediately. There wasn't anything, and then but there wasn't even a nothing. There was just an everything, and that's why there's a thing, because it couldn't not be a thing. And that's a weird ass concept to think about. Maybe he's wrong, but at least he tried, and to some degree it's somewhat scientific, but he doesn't quite get it right. But nobody really does, and we don't know. So I don't assert the things that I don't know to be, because I'm not an apologist. I use logic and facts and data, observable phenomenon, and studyable things to be able to go, well, okay, that's what we do know. And you go, well, It'd be nice if we had that for God, but we just don't. So instead, here's a bunch of stuff that's not true that I'm going to say points to God. The universe had a beginning. We don't know that. So that's not true. Might be true, but we don't know that it's true. So saying it's not true. Okay? Because it's a falsity to say something that you don't know is true. The universe had a beginning. Okay, maybe it did. And, well, that points to God. Why? Because it does. That's not an argument. That's not anything. Okay, next thing. Design requires a designer. Not always. But it does. No, not always. I already, smooth rocks. Nope. Those, Oh, well, okay, well, how did life begin? Explain it. If you can't explain it, then you have to believe this nonsense of magic. But okay, well, you're the one that believes in magic, not me. You have not demonstrated anything. Demonstrate any of this to be a thing. You're just appealing to ignorance, personal incredulity, and you're just doing bald assertions, absolutely ignoring what we do know about things, and just filling in the gaps of your personal knowledge with God, which you haven't even told us what the hell God is. So, oh well, whatever. Keep going.
And once again, we are now back to a supernatural nothing creating a material something.
Stop saying supernatural nothing. Neither supernatural isn't supernatural is nothing. There is no supernatural as far as I know. So nothing. Okay, that's all you're saying is nothing. Got it. All right.
And not only a material something, but a material something that is alive.
What? Huh? What?
The only answer that you have for that is a creator.
No.
God.
No, that's not the only answer. The answer is that the chemicals form bonds with each other that then made more complicated stuff, yada yada yada, and then you have life.
Living organisms require a life giver.
No, they don't. Super.
Well, here's proof number 4.
Okay, here we go.
Objective morality.
Yay! Yay! Woo! It came! It came! It finally came! Okay, my prophecy was only a couple of proofs off, but I prophesied that we would hear the moral argument. We did! Here it is! Yay! I'm so happy! I love being right. Okay, let's look at this nonsense. Objective morality demands an objective lawgiver. What? No, it doesn't. What? No. What? These baseless assertions without any argument are hilarious to me. Okay, whatever. Let's hear what you have to say.
Demands an objective lawgiver. Now, when I say objective, I mean independent of people's opinions.
Yeah, we know.
There is a standard for right and wrong that is simply absolute. It is unchanging. It is universally accepted.
Okay, that's demonstrably, demonstratably wrong. It is. It just is. Because we humans do not agree on stuff. Now, you might be able to pick something and say, well, most humans appear to agree with X, like murder. Well, let's say killing other humans. Most humans seem to think that killing other humans is a bad idea. But there are times when those humans that think it's a bad idea might say that it's okay to do given certain conditions, meaning it's not objective. Because there's certain conditions where you can bend the rule and kill someone. So it's not really objectively wrong. It's just that, we try not to do it. So, what universal thing can you actually demonstrably demonstrate? You would need a wide scale survey, such as never been done before, where you interviewed, I'm going to say 500,000 humans across the globe, and asked them what thing that they think is a objective moral truth. And some of those are going to say they don't. And some of them are going to not have any idea what you're saying, even if you speak their language, which we're going to assume that you are. Then you're going to encounter tribes that's like, we don't have, what the hell are you talking about? What the hell is immoral? What the hell is objective? We just live each day as if, because it could, we hunt, we gather, we bring the food back, we eat together as a tribe, we go to sleep, we do it again the next day, and that's it. That's all we worry about. We don't worry about anything else. So you're not going to find this to be a truism, and you're not. But if you wanted to demonstrate it, you would need a wide scale survey of humanity to demonstrate that at least a wide swath of the population agreed with one X, whatever that X is. That's not been done, and 500,000 is a huge number. But yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll make it a bit more reasonable. Do 100,000. Do 10,000. Let's see what you get from 10,000. But it can't just be America. It's gonna have to be, and it can't just be English speaking nations. You're gonna have to do it wide scale so that you include different places and see if there is one thing that any human can agree upon. But then that doesn't mean that that's objective. That just means humans came to an agreement upon it. So you don't have that study, nor do you have anything to demonstrate that it's anything more than human belief or opinion, which that only requires us humans to come up with. It doesn't require anything beyond us.
For instance, we know that the torture of babies or the rape and the murder of little girls are both universally understood to be morally wrong.
Okay, is that really universally understood to be morally wrong? Is it? Honestly. Now, when you say babies, do you mean human babies or any babies at all? Like a bug. If I torture a bug, is that okay? Is it even possible to torture a bug? I'm not sure, but is that okay? How about an artificial intelligence? Is it okay to torture that? It's technically a baby if I just made it, right? Like, is it okay? I'm just asking the question. I don't have the answer. Rape of little girls. There's certain places where it's not. If it's not considered rape, then is it okay? Like if they don't call it rape, they might say, "Hey, you get to marry a 9-year-old girl in our system." Now, Islam, yeah, hey, look, Muhammad married a 9-year-old, so that's okay. That's perfectly fine in their system. Their God allowed that to happen. It must be objectively correct to marry a 9-year-old girl if you are Islamic. Now, maybe that 9-year-old girl didn't want to marry that guy, but she had to, or she and or her family would be tortured and or killed, or and so the law is you are picked to be married to the person, and so you get married to them. I would call that rape because it's something you don't want to do. And then when it came to the sexual act that I'm sure he performed upon her, he didn't wait for her to get older, because if he wanted to do that, he'd just marry somebody older. You don't get someone and wait for them. So he would have had sex with her. And we, in our society, say that 9-year-olds cannot consent, and so it is rape. But in Islamic beliefs, their God clearly doesn't think that that's rape because you're married to the girl. She's supposed to give you sex, and so she does it. She might not want to do it, but she does it anyways. Might not be able to consent, but that doesn't matter either because God said that that's perfectly fine. So in Islamic belief, the rape of a 9-year-old girl is perfectly fine. However, under Christianity, the rape of a girl is... Wait, where does it say that the rape of a girl is bad in the Bible? Let's see. You can enslave somebody, and you can then marry them and have your way with them. The Bible doesn't mention an age of consent. So, yeah, it's conceivable that you could enslave a young girl and have your way with her, and the Bible seems to be okay with that. So the Bible doesn't really say that it's bad either. So I'm wondering where you get this idea from if it's not in the Bible. Can you show me a passage in the Bible that says that rape of a young girl is wrong? If not, then where did you get this idea from? If it didn't come from the Bible, then you didn't need a God to say that it was wrong. And if you don't need a God to say that it's wrong, then you don't need God to say that things are wrong. And the torture of a baby, or anything for that matter, well, what purpose does the torture serve? If it gives the person doing it pleasure, well, why would it give anybody pleasure at all? If there's objective morals, something went wrong in their brain. How could that be? If they know that torture is wrong, well, then why would anyone ever torture anybody, let alone a baby? If they know it's wrong, why would they do it? Just asking the questions.
But why? Why do we believe that? Why do we, as a people around the globe, believe that the torture of a baby or the rape and the murder of a little girl is wrong?
Well, I don't think that we do around the world believe that. I think that perhaps a wide number of people, thankfully, do agree with that notion. But there are certainly societies and conditions where they don't believe in it. And that is sad. You didn't say killing the girl afterwards. I'm not sure why you would do that. Seems kind of a waste to me. But regardless, nothing in the Bible really. I mean, I guess you could try to find something that might be kind of against it, but I would challenge you to show me where it says you cannot rape and then kill a young girl or a young boy for that matter. Show me that in the Bible. If you didn't get it from the Bible, then where did that notion come from? Well, here's an answer. It came from humans. We have figured out that doing that serves no real purpose, or that doing that would harm society in some shape, way, or form. That doing that, because we have empathy, we know that we wouldn't want it done to us, and so we extend that empathy onto others and say we shouldn't do that to them because they will not like that. They will not enjoy that. And so that's then frowned upon. That's then disallowed by society. Societies that attempted to do it or did engage in it haven't survived. Perhaps it is evolutionarily weeded out because the societies that thought it was a good idea didn't survive as a society because they didn't have any more girls because they kept raping and killing them all the time. And so they didn't have women to propagate their civilization, so they collapsed. That's one possibility. So perhaps we came to the conclusion individually and as a society and as a world because it suited the purposes of our continual survival as a species. And that's a legitimate place for it to come from, without any appeals to anything else other than humanity. But this is another, I don't know where it came from, therefore God. Also see my video called DCT, which outlines the various problems of divine command theory, which is what you would have to be under, and you would, if you think that there's a God. And you do. So you are under DCT. Whether you want to admit that or not, it's another story, but you would have to be, because God tells you to do something. God told Abraham to kill his son. So it was absolutely right that God did that. And God substituted it out, but Abraham didn't know that. And the story, if God didn't substitute it out, would still hold, because it would be absolutely moral. Look at what God did to Job. Well, he had Satan do it, but whatever. God still did that. Why? Because he wanted to win a bet with Satan. Well, with the tempter. So God seems like kind of a jerk in the Bible. Just saying. And maybe, oh, well, but what about Jesus? Well, he told us not to bother washing our hands, which I don't think is a very good idea. He also said, don't worry about tomorrow, because it probably won't come, which he was wrong about. So I don't think that he gave very good advice either. Anyways.
If you say that it's based on society's moral understanding, you're going to be in real trouble, because society is forever changing. They blow with the wind in their beliefs and how they view and how they understand things.
That's actually, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. The problem with a static system that doesn't change is that it cannot update with the times. So your Bible says nothing about microwaves. It's nothing about nuclear power. It says nothing about science. The word science doesn't appear, nor does the word logic appear. The word belief and faith sure does. Math, the word math never appears. I don't think that there, as far as I know, I can't think off the top of my head if there is any mathematical equation in the Bible at all. I don't think that there is. Pretty sure there isn't. Well, you could say the Bible's not meant to do those things. All right, well, I don't know why not, but okay. But the Bible says nothing about computers or cars or, what should we do about smog? What should we do about the, pi? Yeah, 3.14. Is that in the Bible? I don't think it is. I don't know. Maybe it is. I doubt it. Unless they might have had it because of numerology, but I don't think so. The Bible doesn't talk about modern day problems because it's static. So it can't tell you if putting a cat in the microwave is bad because there wasn't a microwave. And you say, well, no, it tells us to take care of animals and have dominion over them. Well, dominion, that means I get to do whatever I want to the damn thing. I can put a cat in a microwave, right? The Bible doesn't say anything about a fucking microwave or what I should do with my cat. So why can't I put my cat in the microwave? The Bible doesn't say anything about it. So you're going to have to come up with an answer to that to fit the modern day problems that we have. And what's going to happen is eventually some modern day issues going to have a problem that you can't fit into the Bible framework. And that's happened plenty of times. Lots of times. I challenge you already to show me where it says rape is wrong in the Bible, where it says killing is wrong in the Bible, because I guarantee you, I can show you that there's a way around that using the Bible too. Because if you enslave somebody, then you can do stuff to them. And you might say, well, no, they had to treat their slaves in a certain way, blah, blah, blah. Well, but did they? Could they get away with it? There are certain loopholes. They certainly could. And God ordered the killing of men, women, and children a couple different times, and seemed to have no problem with wiping out all of humanity except for one small group of people. So God's fine with genocide, apparently. But I'm not okay with genocide. So my morals that say genocide is wrong, apparently God doesn't use my morals. Why not?
So, if in fact your source of absolute objective morality does not have God in the picture, you're really in a real pickle, because you're backed again to the supernatural nothing that somehow is defining objective morality.
Uh, 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 whatever.
Or you're simply left with the subjective opinions of society that you and I both know can change, and change very quickly.
Oh no! It can change. Oh, the horror. Yeah, yeah. That's a good thing. That is. But look at Islam again. Okay, women have to cover themselves head to toe. You know, the hijab. They have to do that. It's part of their thing. They have to do that. And because Allah's in charge and Allah said to do it, apparently, I guess, I don't know, then that's objectively correct. And we in the West are just evil and vile for not making our women do it, right? Oh, but no, we think that covering women from head to toe is wrong. Well, where do we get our morals from? Well, God. But they also get their morals from God. But it's a different God. That God says, cover your women from head to toe. But our God doesn't say that. Well, which God is correct? Well, ours, of course. And they're going to say the same thing. Well, how do we decide who's right? I guess we have to kill each other. And whoever wins, whoever's the last one standing, that's who God is right. What if they win? Well, then I guess they were right. But that doesn't make sense. And that's one of many problems with divine command theory, is the Islamic person is going to sit down at the table with you, so to speak, and you're going to sit down and go, okay, look, objective moral values exist, therefore God. And they're going to be like, yeah, I agree. Okay, cool. It's objectively morally wrong to cover a woman head to toe. Well, here it says in the Quran. Now show me where it says in the Bible not to do that. Show me where it says in the Bible that you shouldn't cover a woman head to toe. It's not in there. Well, why not? You're not supposed to lust over a woman. It says that in the Bible. So the only way to prevent you from lusting on a woman is cover her head to toe, as we do. So we have a better moral system than you do. That makes our God real and your God not real. You just have to understand that you need Allah, not your God. Your God is a false God. Our God's the real God. And you're going to say, no, that's not true. And you're going to go back and forth. And you're never going to be able to resolve it, because you both have unshifting, unwavering opinions about what is correct. That is non-negotiable. You cannot change those, ever. That's a bug, not a feature.
Yet we know, and universally it is known, that there are some things that are categorically morally wrong, like the torture of a child or the rape and the murder of a little girl. We know that. People of all cultures understand and know that. And for
Prove that. Prove it. I'm tired of you just asserting stuff. Prove it. Prove it. He's not going to prove it, but I really want him to.
that to be true, there needs to be a standard that rises above each individual's opinion and rises above society's opinions. It is an unchanging, absolute standard. Who could that be? My friend, that is God. Because God alone is the absolute, unchanging standard for that which is right or wrong, that which is good.
If you're talking about the Christian Yahweh or whatever, then again, slavery of people must be objectively okay. Subservient make them servants of mine if they owe me money. That's perfectly fine, right? Because it doesn't say later on in the Bible to not do that, right? Or is it that Jesus says, well, love your neighbor as yourself, and that covers everything now. That's the new law. That's the only law. What's that mean? That's vague as hell. Anyways.
He is the standard of rightness that we know as the moral law because it flows from the unchanging character of God.
You haven't demonstrated that God has an unchanging character. You haven't demonstrated any of this. You just stop asserting stuff.
Well, here's our final proof.
Oh, thank goodness.
Reasoning minds call for a rational creator.
I'm done. I quit. No, I'm done. I'm done. No, I don't want to do this. No, I'm done. I don't want to. No, I refuse. No, this is stupid. No, I don't want to. I don't want to do it. Yin Yang, get in here. Do the last one. Do this one for me. I don't want to do it. I don't want to talk about how stupid this is. I just don't. I don't want to deal with this. Do it. Do it, please. Please. Yin Yang. Yin Yang. Please. He's in chat, by the way, for those that are watching later on. Reasoning minds call for a rational creator. So presuppositionalism is the last non-proof, I guess. No, they don't. It doesn't. But then that would mean if God has a reasoning mind, that it too would have to have a rational creator, unless it's unreasonable mind. But you don't want God to have a God. So then God has to have special pleading for it. But if God can have special pleading for it and not need a rational creator for it to be rational, then why not save a step and have people not need a rational creator to have a rational mind? But I could also say, yeah, sure, I have a rational creator. My parents! Ah! Oh, he's on iPad having coffee. This is stupid. I don't want to do it. I refuse. You know what? It's my video. I don't have to do it. Nobody said I had to do it. I said I had to do it. I said I was going to do it no matter how long it took. I said, I'm going to do this video. And I made a joke that it's going to take 5 years. But just because I said I was doing it, that doesn't mean I have to do it. Fuck, I have to do it. Shit, no, I don't want to. No.
Here's a question I pose to you.
Oh, God.
Can mindless evolution produce a being with a mind?
Yes.
Think about that for a moment. Let me just state that again. Can a mindless evolutionary process bring into being a being with a mind that thinks, a mind that uses logic, a mind that reasons?
Yes, it can. And it does. And it did. Yes is the answer.
How can a mindless, illogical process that is based on random and chance bring into being that which can think clearly, can use logic, can reason?
Well, again, apparently you don't know the answer to that, and I've already, I've explained a little bit about it, but I can't explain the full process to you because it's extraordinarily lengthy. But just because we don't know, if we didn't know, we said, I don't know the answer to that question. Let's just pretend I don't know. And I said, I don't know. Well, then what? Well, that's it. That's just it. We don't know. But you're going to fill in that gap with your God that you haven't proven at all. and your appeals to ignorance and personal incredulity, and also you forgot about the filtering mechanism that exists within evolution, because apparently you don't know a damn thing about evolution. And if you're a dentist, well, I guess dentists don't need to know about biological evolution to be a dentist. So I guess I'm just hitting on the last nerve, because there's nerves and teeth. But look, why? How do you explain fucking wisdom teeth? If wisdom teeth exist, then God doesn't exist. There you go. I can make bad arguments too. Oh. All right. Hey, did D-Man have his coffee yet? No, I don't drink coffee. If everything God commands is the good, what can't be justified as the good? Right, exactly. Well, we're not on the moral argument now. We're now on the rational mind argument. How can you get the rational mind from what he calls irrational randomness of evolution? Well, because it did. Because it did. That's how. I mean, like, yeah, what factors contribute to God's existence? Yeah, well, it just has to exist. It just has to. See, he didn't explain any damn thing about God, what God was, how he knows anything about God. All he's done this whole damn video is assert things. That's all. That's all he's done. That's all he's doing. He's now appealing to his own personal ignorance about biological evolution to ask this question and then appeal to God for an answer, even though he hasn't demonstrated God.
How do you explain that?
Evolution.
Well, if you say there is no God, if you believe there is no God, then once again, you are left with a mindless, supernatural nothing.
No, you're not.
That somehow has created living beings with a mind.
Nope.
And now we're in a real problem, because how then do you explain our ability to reason and use logic?
Evolution. That's how I explain it. But let's again, if I pretend that I didn't have an explanation and be like, I don't know. That doesn't. Then that's it. That's the end of that. That's the end of that. I don't then go, oh, I can't explain it, therefore God. No, it doesn't work that way, because then you have to explain God.
If we are, in fact, the product of that mindless evolutionary process,
we are. Whether there's a God or not, we absolutely are the product of evolution. Whether you agree with that or like it or not doesn't matter. That's just the fact there, doctor. So I don't know why you don't understand evolution. Like, maybe you didn't take it in school or something. Maybe you didn't need it for your doctorate, whatever that is. Again, I think he's a dentist. I don't know that he is. I looked up his name and I found a dentist that was 50 years old, and he appears to be 50 years old-ish. So I'm like, that's probably him. If it is him, I could potentially visit him in real life, because he's in the state that I'm in. I don't know how far away it is, but still, it'd be cool to be like, let's sit down and debate this. Like, I would need a scientist, though, to explain all this stuff that he gets wrong, though. I don't know. Maybe I'd just get Answers in Atheism on. He knows some stuff. He'd be able to explain to him all this. I'm like, look, man, here, or just give him some books on biology. Be like, here, read that. I don't know.
then the ability to think and to use the laws of logic is simply an illusion.
There was a video that said that just lately. It was like, reality is an illusion. I'm like, no, it's not. Shut up. But consciousness might be an illusion. I don't know what that means. I don't really buy it, because it's a thing. But some people think that it's an illusion. I don't know. It's weird. Like all things, it's complicated as hell. And it's off track. Whatever. Anyways, yeah, it might be an illusion. It's just appealing to the consequence and going like, but it can't be that. No, yeah, it could be. If it is, that's the way it is. I don't think it is, but I could be an illusion. Then what? Well, then that's true. If that's the way it is, that's the way it is. Okay, we need to not appeal to consequence. Go, well, it can't be this. Yes, it could be that. Whether we like that or not, whether it makes sense or not, it could be if it's possible. Now, I don't know if it's possible or not, but if it is possible, then yeah. But we shouldn't just assert things without demonstrable demonstration. But that's all you've been doing. You shouldn't, but you are, which means there aren't objective moral values because I think that we shouldn't assert things that we have no proof of, which is all you've been doing this entire freaking video. What did this guy say? This guy could be Wallace clone if his eyes were a bit closer together. Yeah, probably.
Really, all you have, if you're believing in this robotic, if you will, evolutionary process, is that
The belief in the supernatural nothing. That's the new phrase, everybody. Supernatural nothing. We're gonna put it in parentheses because it's cooler. No, let's put it in quotes. Yeah, supernatural nothing in quotes. So we all know what that is. That's our new meme. So we've got a couple of memes going here, my friends. We've got prove wrong, and we've got supernatural nothing. Now those are our two memes for whenever anybody does a horrible argument. We'll just be like supernatural nothing, and we'll know what we mean, and nobody else will know. It'll be a little inside joke for us to laugh about, and people will be like, "What the fuck is this?" Years from now, they'll be like trying to examine and understand these YouTube videos and be like, "What the hell? What?" Well,
that it produces robotic living beings, whatever that might be, and however you understand it. But they certainly cannot reason or logic. They just simply function. They just are.
Yeah.
But we don't do that as human beings.
Huh?
We think. Even now, as I'm talking to you, you are processing what I am saying. You are.
Please stop talking like a robot. Why are you talking like a robot? Where did this come from?
Thinking it through logically. You're asking.
Yeah, I'm thinking it through logically, but you, sir, are not using logic at all. Not even a little. At no point in this entire video have you used logic.
Asking questions within your mind. You're rationalizing all of what's being said and pondering some of the things and the proofs that I'm giving to you. How then do you explain that if there is not a God who is a rational creator who made you as a rational being in his image?
Plenty of ways to explain it. But again, if we said, I don't know the explanation, and you're just saying, well, there's this thing that made it in its image. Okay, so is God rational? Well, you said that rational beings require a rational creator. So does God require a rational creator? I think I spelled creator wrong. My brain is gut. No, that's right. All right. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. What is his response to that? Wow. His response to the comment that he got that he was wrong was like, "Thanks for your comment." So I guess my 2-hour video response, he'll just be like, "Thanks for your video. God bless." Because goodness forbid that he actually interacts with it on a logical level. My brain hurts. Keep going. We're almost done.
Again, you're left with a supernatural nothing that somehow has brought into being rational, logical beings. Here's the bottom line. A supernatural nothing cannot create a universe with complex design that is filled with living organisms that intuitively know right from wrong and can think and reason.
Also, if we intuitively knew right from wrong, then we wouldn't need to teach our kids right from wrong. But we do need to teach our kids from right from wrong. So why is that?
When you process that, you take a step back and begin to realize, how do I explain the material world in which I live apart from a God who created it?
There's lots of ways to explain it, but even if we did not know the explanation, asserting an explanation in its place is an appeal to ignorance and a blank of the gap. It's a god of the gap in this case. Could be a wizard did it of the gap. So yeah. Even if you don't know what the answer is, that should be it. You shouldn't then assert an answer because it seems to fit. You need to, how is it rational that a God requires anything other than itself? Why does God need anything at all? How does God work? I mean, what is God? I don't know. Anyways, keep going. We're almost done.
That's why when you come back to chapter 11 of the Hebrews where we started, I read to you verse 3.
Yes, when you assume your conclusion and you go back to the conclusion that you assumed, it's called a circular argument.
Let me move to verse 6, and here's what the writer says. Without faith, it is impossible to please him. For whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists.
All right, so if that is correct, then you cannot have any evidence of God at all. Because if you have evidence, then you cannot have faith. And if you cannot have faith, then you cannot please God. So either you can never please God, or you can never have faith if you have any evidence of God. But if you have no evidence of God, then you can have faith. However, you have the Bible, which is saying stuff about God, which would then be evidence for God. So something has to be broken here. Either this is wrong and that it is possible to please God without faith, or it is impossible in full to please God because you can't have faith because you have evidence of God, or you have no evidence of God, which means you don't have the Bible, and or the Bible cannot be considered evidence of God, and neither can these proofs of God's existence, because if you had proof, then you wouldn't have faith and you wouldn't be able to please God. So, which one is it? I wonder. Something's broken here. I don't know. It's just, I'm just saying. Something's broken.
So it brings us right back to where we began. Does God exist?
Nope. Thanks for asking.
And if he does, how do you know?
You don't.
And I'll come back to what I said at the very beginning. I cannot make any of you believe.
Correct. You certainly cannot, with all your bad arguments and non-arguments and appeals to ignorance, personal incredulity, bald assertions, circular reasoning, and pseudoscience, non-science. You don't have anything here. So yeah, you're right. This is the only statement that you've made that appears to be correct, is you can't make us believe because you don't have any proof to offer us at all, not even a little. If you had proof, then we would believe, but you don't have proof, so we can't.
In the existence of God. But what I can do is give you some fundamental proofs that
if you have a proof, oh God, did you not know how proof works in logic? I guess not. If you have a logical proof, then that's yes, that's a thing. Like if the argument is valid and sound, then the thing is true. Like, unless logic breaks or something. But you don't have a valid and sound argument. So we don't know if your conclusion is true. We do have to be skeptical of your conclusion because it might be true, it might be false, but your argument is so bad that we can't agree with your conclusion. Fix your broken ass arguments. But if you have proof, then you have then you have an argument that's valid and sound, which means you would also have evidence, which means you couldn't have faith, which means you can't please God. So God could exist, but it couldn't be the God of the Bible, unless the Bible got that bit wrong. And if it got that bit wrong, what other bits might have it gotten wrong? Anyways, whatever.
The universe must have a cause. Design reveals a designer. Living organisms require a life giver. Objective morality demands an objective lawgiver. And reasoning minds call for a rational creator. My friends, I know that God exists, and I have a relationship with the God who made me.
No, you believe God exists and you don't have a relationship. At least not the sort of relationship that we humans have with each other. You have a one-sided conversation with God. You talk to God, and God never responds. Is that really a relationship?
Who created me in his image through God the Son, Jesus Christ.
Wait,
and I
where did that come from?
hope the same for you.
Okay.
Hey, listen, thanks for being a part today. So glad you're joining with me. And if this information has been helpful, please hit the like button. And if you've not become a subscriber, just smash that subscriber button. I would love for you to come on board with so many that are joining and becoming a part of the journey that we're on. And again, thanks for being a part, and God's very best to you.
All right, we're done. We've made it. You've made it. This has been time sucked by Deconverted Man. You've listened to this. This is a short video. My voice is completely gone now. Well, what have we learned? Here's the top 5 takeaways. I'm going to be stealing stuff from Time Suck. It's a podcast I've been listening to. I love it. And also Scared to Death. It's by Bad Magic Productions. Anyways, top 5 takeaways. These arguments suck. Every single one of them wasn't even really an argument. These are assertions that prove to be ultimately appeals to ignorance. Special pleading was, well, that was hinted at. It wasn't actually performed, but appeals to ignorance, personal incredulity, circular argument, bald assertions, and that's and God of the gaps. At no point did he ever prove anything using logic or science. At no point did he give us any reason to agree with him, other than empty assertions. His false dichotomies and appeals to intuition, appeals to feelings, all do not prove anything. And the only thing it appears he was correct about was that he couldn't make us believe in his version of God. So this has been Dr. Tracy E Barnes, analyzed and debunked by Deconverted Man. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Don't forget to not hit the bell or subscribe or like. All I want is a comment. That's it. Just leave a comment on this video. That will make me happy. What kind of comment? Hopefully relevant to the video at hand, not just hi Deconverted Man, although that's fine too. But if you don't leave a comment, that's fine. But I will hunt you down. I will find you eventually. Well, not me personally. I'm going to send a lobster out to do it. And if you don't believe that that's going to happen, well, you're in trouble there. All right, because I just assert things. Read The Lobsterist if you haven't yet. And somebody somewhere at some point needs to analyze The Lobsterist for logical fallacies. That's not me. I would love someone to do that. Also review my book. Like, I want somebody to review my book, or like talk to me, interview me about my book, because I wrote a book called Caught Between an Infinite Hope and Finite Despair. I also wrote a book called The Lightbringer. So, yeah, those are things that I did. And so that's how you can you could send me money if you want to. Like, I think my PayPal's gone off my YouTube channel. Like, I'm pretty sure I took it down because it wasn't active. But if you want to send me money, you can email me, and like I'll figure out a way for you to send me money if you want to do that. What else can I say that's a YouTube thing to say? This video has not been sponsored by Audible or anything at all. He has a personal relationship with a rational being that can't teach him rationally. Yeah. Yeah, Christian time sucking black holes. Fucking black holes, man. All right, well, thanks, just thanks, I guess. And let me know if you like you want a longer video next time. Let me know if you survived all 2 hours and 15 seconds of this. 22 seconds. No, 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 26 seconds. Sorry. I thought 15 was seconds, but then I realized, no, the number at the end is seconds. Stop the video! No, I don't want to stop the video. I want to keep going. Okay, now I'm done, though. So, Finn, Supernatural, nothing, comment. Goodbye for now. See you next time.